Now, the first name I'm going to bring up here is Schoot Henderson. If you look at his box score numbers, efficiency marks, does not tell the whole story of his season so far. Looks very poor, actually. He is fifth in rookie points at 12.4, first in rookie assist at 5.1. So he is leading all rookies in assists. That's a good mark for him. But he's only a 40% 2-point shooter, fifth percentile, 28.7% from three, 14th percentile. And he's even only in the 30th percentile as far as a free throw shooter, 76.9. So when you look at all these percentages here, not a great mark for Schoot. Doesn't paint a pretty picture for him. However, if we do a little bit of a split between the first 10 games he played and then the last 14 games he's played, there is some improvement there. Now, he played 10 games. He averaged 9 points per game, and he shot 34, 22, 68 splits. Very poor. Very poor. He missed 9 games due to injury, so he was inactive for many games after that. So I want to highlight that as well. Since he's been back, so it's been about 14 games or so, he has averaged 14 points per game. So it's more of a mark of a top 5 rookie. If you look at Brandon Miller and Chet and guys like that, he's up towards those guys now. His splits have improved to 37, 34, 80. So the field goal percentage and the 3-point percentage are still poor. However, the free throw percentage is showing improvement. He's getting more points per game. He's getting more minutes as a result of some injuries. Shaedon Sharpe missed a decent amount of games. But with the more opportunities, he's become more efficient. And I think that's a good sign of a guy that's growing and learning the game. So, I wanted to point that out because he is a willing passer. He is averaging over 5 assists a game as a rookie and not the most minutes, so that's pretty solid. And he's showing improvement. No matter how badly you start a career, as long as you show that you're getting better, that's encouraging to me. So he's learning the game. He's making better decisions. He's turning the ball over less. And I think those are all marks of a player that is not necessarily on track to be a bust or just doomed during his career. He still has a great future ahead of him. It's just tricky. When you come in as a point guard, it's probably the most difficult position to learn in the NBA. It takes the most time, honestly. There's so much you have to do as a lead guard. So wanted to highlight that real quick and just mention that, hey, he's not a lost cause. He's not on track to be a bust necessarily. It just took him a little bit more time to adjust to the speed of the game, his responsibilities as a point guard, and just find his way on a team that's starting over. There's a lot that Blazers are trying to figure out right now. So just a few points about Schoot I wanted to throw out there before people start running him over and dismissing his whole career.
Yeah, I don't want to dismiss his whole career either. But again, I don't want to keep taking it back to Chet, but I just wanted to make one point here. Chet is coming off of a foot injury, right? He missed the whole of last season. And yet when I watch him now versus when I remember watching him at Gonzaga, he feels noticeably quicker. He seems to be someone who's doing better with the fact that there's more spacing around him. And he feels like someone whose handle has improved a little bit. And when I watch Schoot, and I've been trying to watch him as much as I can over the last 2 years with the G League Ignite, watching him so far this year has been really, really tough. He has been getting better over the last 10, 15 games, primarily because he is being able to drive better to the hoop because he has a better understanding of NBA speed. But overall, I think there is still a reason why his plus minus, his advanced stats, everything looks so dire. It's because in certain aspects, there is still a lot of concerning aspects. I'm not ready to give up on Schoot, and the main reason why is actually the fact that he is coming from the G League Ignite. I think the G League Ignite program right now, there has to be some questions asked about how it prepares prospects for the NBA. When it was just Jalen Green and Kuminga, and yeah, they had some struggles coming in. Defensively, it looked a little whack. Offensively, there were some questions. It was okay. They were raw as prospects anyways. I kind of understand. With Schoot too, it really does feel like he is someone who, with the G League Ignite, was already accustomed to having spacing and was accustomed to his physical gifts giving him more of an advantage than they do at the NBA level. When
Hmm.
I'm watching him with the Trailblazers, he feels small despite having a very well built body. And he feels like uncomfortable being able to get to his spots most of the time. And the fact that his jump shot, which was already the biggest question mark of his game, isn't letting him create easily from beyond the arc or even from the mid range very easily, that's kind of where my concerns are.
Hmm.
Defensively, I feel like all rookie point guards struggle. Offensively, there will be more turnovers because that's just how point guards tend to be.
Sure.
But the overall package, I still see the reasons why people should be concerned. And at the same time, I also see why people should give him a bit more leeway and be understanding of the fact that he is someone adjusting to the NBA in a way that most prospects aren't used to.
Hmm. I'm glad you played a little bit of devil's advocate on that piece, Avi, because I think the concerns to a point, to an extent, are warranted. When you look at a player that played not 1 but 2 years in G League Ignite against some very formidable competition,
Yes.
it does raise some questions. And I think to an extent, you're expected to come in a little bit more polished, a little bit more refined. You've played against NBA level players before. You've been on the big stage before. So you're expected to come in and kind of know a little bit more about what you're doing. You're training with these NBA caliber players, NBA caliber coaches, these programs they're put through. So I understand that there are expectations that are pretty high for him. And, I was one of those people. I thought he was going to come in and not to say he was going to be a incredible rookie and set these records, but I thought he was going to come in and be average efficiency, be able to not be overwhelmed by the speed of the game or the strength of the game. And, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I mean, there's low light reels created of Scoot, unfortunately, some bad turnovers, some bad misses. It's just not stuff you want to see from a player that, hey, has the body. He's been in this program for 2 years. It is a little bit troubling. So I think for him, it's still more wait and see because he's so young and because it's so early
Yep.
in the season, even. But there are some yellow flags I think that are worth pointing out. Not necessarily red flags yet, but some yellow flags. But it's obvious that his adjustment is going to take more time. And luckily for him, he's in a system, an organization like the Blazers. They're on no type of schedule or timeline. They can afford to watch him just grow, learn through his mistakes. He has some great veteran leader ahead of him in Malcolm Brogdon that he can pick his brain and kind of understand what he needs to do better. Those are components of the Blazers, I think, work in his favor. He's not playing for the Warriors. They're not trying to win right now. He doesn't have to learn the game super quickly or risk losing a spot altogether. He's going to get minutes. He's going to get 20 or so minutes, regardless of how he's playing. So that's a plus for him. He still has more time to figure it out. I think we're just hoping that because of his experience, because of what he's been through before, that he does continue to improve. These marks that I pointed out in the last 14 games, still not going to cut it. He still has to be better, but at least the free throw percentage is getting better. So that gives us somewhat of an indicator that, okay, he can at least be an average shooter and space the floor decently well, which he has to do as a point guard in the NBA. That's just how it is right now.
Yeah, it's still a little rough to watch because again, I was also part of the people who had some higher expectations for him considering how he looked with the Ignite. I think watching him, I started to realize I feel like I started to appreciate John Morant's game a little bit more because I thought he could come in and have a little bit more of the impact Morant does. But the difference between watching Morant and watching Scoot is Morant's level of explosiveness feels at an even different level than Scoot's, who I think is a very explosive athlete.
Hmm.
And Morant is so shifty and fluid as an athlete, where Scoot right now still feels a little bit boxy. It still
Yeah.
feels like he's getting from point A to point B and then turning right. It feels a little bit more like a bus turning versus watching like an absolute like a Ferrari, man. It's rough right now, but again, he's coming from the G League Ignite, and the tracker record we have so far suggests that G League Ignite prospects don't they take a little bit longer to develop than you might expect from prospects coming from other parts of the world or from college. I think partially because they are already so used to the spacing. So they have all the spacing advantages that NBA players tend to, and they get to go against easier on-ball defenders. So they can get away with a bit more than you even can in college. I think about Morant when he was in college, playing at Murray State. He doesn't exactly have a very well spaced floor. So he's already having to adjust to the fact that, okay, the spacing is clogged and I still want to get to the rim. So he has many more reps of going against those clogged floors. For Scoot, this is the first time when he's really getting that sensation. But here it's because of how athletic and long NBA defenders are. So I'm still willing to give him much more time. But the yellow flags are definitely strong, even for a rookie point guard. I just have to mention that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.